justice, temperance, wisdom, courage. Applying ancient philosophy to modern times, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Like the show? Help support the Sunday Stoic by rating us on iTunes. Volunteer to read, suggest content, or send comments to sundaystoic@gmail.com. Thanks, and carpe diem.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic. My name's Steve, and today's episode will be over some of the Stoic practices that you can employ on a daily basis to improve your life. As Stoics, we're trying to cultivate the discipline of desire, ensuring we only want things that we can actually control, and we only avoid things that are also within our power to control. Everything else, riches, poverty, life, and death, are indifference. We can prefer to have one or the other, and we can use knowledge, so wisdom, to know which of these indifferents are worth pursuing and which are worth avoiding, but none of these things are necessary to be a good person. And that's our ultimate goal as a Stoic, to live a flourishing life or being a good person. So while we're working on this discipline, the discipline of desire, we're also focusing on the discipline of action, putting our desires into actual action, and trying to ensure that the actions we actually employ reflect wisdom and benefit all humanity whenever possible. At the same time, we're using the discipline of Ascent, or as Donald Robertson calls it, the discipline of judgment. This allows us to prevent runaway thoughts or events causing negative emotions and helps to keep us from wanting undesirable things and doing undesirable actions. So building on these ideas, we're going to talk about a few of the Stoic exercises that you can do to help develop perspective and mental clarity. These things will help you with your discipline of Ascent, not allowing impressions to become negative emotions or anxiety, and also help you to prevent you from desiring things that are outside your power to control. And to learn more about these practices, I highly recommend you check out Stoicism and the Art of Happiness by Donald Robertson, How to Be a Stoic by Massimo Pigliucci, and A Guide to the Good Life by William Irvin. All of these have breakdowns of these practices in more detail, and you can check those out at your local library or online. You can pick them up on Amazon.com. The first Stoic exercise is one we've talked about in the past. I just want to mention it again. And that's Premeditatio Malorum. That's the premeditation of bad things. Technically, we could say it's the premeditation of indifferent things if we want to be super Stoic about it. So this is when we think about things that could happen to us and how we might respond to them. So this could be as simple as thinking about your day at work and knowing that you're going to have to have a meeting, and knowing that some of the people in the meeting are annoying as hell and you're going to have to work with them, right? So thinking about it before it happens so it doesn't really come as a surprise when it does happen. So you've thought about it in advance, and you may even have thought about how you're going to deal with it in advance. A lot of times when things catch us by surprise, they make us mad and they disrupt the good flow of our life. So this helps us to avoid that. So this, and it doesn't have to be just simple things. You can think about worst case scenarios. You're trying not to let this develop into anxiety, right? So if you're prone to anxiety, you might hold off on thinking about really bad things happening. But, you might imagine the sun swelling up and burning up the earth tomorrow morning. And then when it doesn't happen, you can say, oh, well, at least that's going for me, right? You can enjoy little things in life by realizing the worst case scenarios didn't occur. But you can prepare for worst case scenarios, and you can also use this to help get control over fear and anxiety by exposing yourself to the things you fear. I was using it recently. I don't know why. I hate reading student evaluations. I'm a teacher, and my students write about you at the end of the semester, and then you read them later on to see what your class thought of you. And there's always people that think you're the most horrible human being that ever walked the earth. That's by no means the most common reply, but it's the ones you remember, at least the ones I remember. And I always get anxious about it. So I practiced imagining the worst things a student might say about me ahead of time. And then when I got my evals, they were nowhere near that bad, and so they seemed a little less menacing than they might have otherwise. So you can think about what-if situations and how you might deal with them. So for this, I really recommend, once again, Donald Robertson's book is a great primer on this activity, as well as several others. And he is a psychotherapist, so he brings that richness of experience and ties it into Stoicism, and I think it's really useful for that reason. The next practice that I'd like to mention is a morning and evening meditation. In the morning, you can think about the day ahead. Plan it out. What issues might arise? Sort of like the Premeditation Malorum. What issues might arise? What virtues might you have to employ during the day to remain a good person no matter what happens to you? You may wish to write this out, so write it down in a journal, and or you might just think about it in a more Eastern meditation practice, just contemplating. This is a good time to do a little Stoic reading as well, if you have time in the morning, if you're not me, and fortify yourself for the day. So use that Stoic reading to get you ready for your day. The evening meditation is when you think about the things you said and did throughout the day in as much detail as you can. What went well? What did not? What could you have done better? What did you accomplish? What did you leave undone? Things like that. This can be done also in your head or in a journal. If you do it in a journal, though, the next morning when you start your morning meditation, you can look at the previous day's evening meditation and reflect on how you might be better today than you were yesterday. So those are handy little things you can do just to judge yourself, see how you're doing. You don't beat yourself up. The past isn't indifferent. You can't control it. It's what happened. But how can you use it to be better right now and be better in the future? What have you learned about yourself in the last 24 hours that you can use to grow as you go into the next 24 hours? Another really interesting exercise is the view from above. And I think Massimo Pigliucci does something like this. He said he's not very good at visualizing things, so he used pictures to do this. So you might use like Google Earth, right? So zoom in on your house, then picture yourself in your living room or wherever you are, and then imagine being above your house. And you can do that on Google Earth, right? See your world from above and imagine everyone in their homes around you, all the people around you, and all the things they're going through and all the things they're doing. And they share the same worries you do, basically. You're connected to them in this way. And then zoom out further to your country. Everyone's living a life. Most of the problems they're having are similar to yours. Zoom out and see the world. You are a member of the human community. You're not just, living in your own country. You're a member of society at large. Humanity is your family, and you can appreciate that more clearly this way. Then zoom out and see the earth. Maybe that will inspire you to act or behave differently. And zoom out even further, and you may realize how insignificant even the earth is. And zoom out further and further and further. And another thing you can do then, as you see the vastness of space and think of your place in it, you might kind of realize how puny your problems really are and how they really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And another thing you can do is imagine the past and the future. Imagine where you're sitting, how many different people have sat there and are gone now, and how many people will be there in the future, and how the land you're sitting on right now will one day just be a single layer of rock, perhaps, in a geologic column, basically meaningless in the grand scheme of things. You can ponder the infinite past, the infinite future, and realize how meaningless pursuing fame and fortune really are, how quickly these things pass by. As Marcus Aurelius says, the famous person passes away, and everyone who remembered them also passes away very rapidly in the context of time, and the ones who remembered are also forgotten. Now, I recommend you check out some of the modern Stoics. So you can pick up on these ideas from the ancient Stoic literature, but you can read some of the modern Stoics for more information. Donald Robertson actually has some guided meditations. I thought about doing one. I don't know if I have the voice for it, but I could have soft music playing and say, sit down in a chair. Inhale, exhale, feel the rising of your chest. That sort of a thing. But he kind of ties in a little bit of what I think of as Buddhist mindfulness into some of these Stoic practices to give them a little kind of an update and tie them into things that we know work. And I recommend checking those out if you have the time. There's nothing wrong, as far as I can tell, with Buddhist mindfulness either, if you wish to employ that as well. It may not be exactly what an ancient Stoic would do, but we're not living in ancient Rome or Greece, so I think that's all right. So check out the modern Stoics because they actually piece these things together from the ancient writings and update them in some cases. I recommend Stoicism and the Art of Happiness by Donald Robertson. It not only breaks down the techniques that I've talked about and gives more detail, it puts them into the perspective of a psychotherapist as well, and how they can help negate negative emotions and control our negative passions, the things we're trying to get under wraps as a Stoic. We want to feel happy, and we're not trying to run away from feelings, but we're trying to realize how foolish it is to get upset over some things in life, and put those things in their places so we can recover quickly and live as happy a life as we can. So start with these practices, make a habit of them. That's going to be the trick, right? Getting into the habit of doing these. I recommend setting a goal of doing them for at least 30 days in a row, or pick one of them and start with 30 days in a row. And once you've done it for 30 days, you'll know if it has some benefit for you. And it may also then develop actually into a habit by that point. And see if they make a difference in your perspective, in your values, and in your virtues, and in your happiness. And let me know what practices work for you. I'm sure I didn't name all of the things you can do as a Stoic. What works for you as a Stoic? What kind of things really help you to live a good life? Is it, reminding yourselves that those around you are mortal and you may lose them? That helps you to value them more deeply? Is it imagining all your possessions have been lost and that helps you to appreciate what you have now? What sort of things actually work for you? So let me know. Stay Stoic. And have a great week. I'll see you next week. Carpe diem.